We are going to look at Beowulf not just a monster story but through three powerful theoretical lenses: feminism, Marxism, and postmodernism. We'll be focusing on the middle section of the epic, from the fight with Grendel's mother to the awakening of the dragon. Let's start with feminism. From a feminist perspective, Beowulf reveals a clear gender bias in how it portrays, treats, and values women.
In chapter 20, the narrator explicitly mentions that Grendel's mother's attack was less terrible because a woman's strength is weaker than a man's. The narrator narrates that when the mother of Grendel entered the folk hall, the fear was less grievous by even so much as the vigor of maidens, while strength of women by warrior is reckoned. Through feminist theory, this line shows gender bias. These lines reflect when Grendel's mothers entered the hall, all the men were terrified, but the narrator says they were less afraid than they were of Grendel. Why? Because the society believed that a woman's strength is naturally weaker than man. Even though she is a monster, the warrior assumed she couldn't be as dangerous as a male attacker just because she is female. She is treated as an inferior version of a threat, much like the biblical Eve, who is often portrayed as incomplete or secondary compared to Adam. The same bias extends to human women. Queens like Hildeburh and Freyviru are reduced to the role of peaceweaver. Their only functions are to pour drinks at feast and to be traded in women to prevent wars. If a woman acts independently or seeks revenge, she is labeled as a monster. If she is submissive, she is turned into a trophy. The poem enforces a harsh binary here. Obedient women are useful objects, while assertive women are cast out as monsters. From the viewpoint of Marxist criticism, this fight is not just a fight between good and evil. It is a struggle over power, wealth, and space. He wrote, "The gold-decked palace represents the rich ruling class. It is full of joy, luxury, and power. On the other hand, the lake is a dark and isolated place where outcasts are forced to live. Grendel and his mother represent the poor, who are excluded from the happiness of the hall. So when Grendel's mother attacks Herod, it is like a rebellion against a privileged class. She isn't just fighting Beowulf, she is fighting a system that pushed her family into exile and kept them out of the light." Postmodernism challenges us to question the story we are told. It asks a simple but powerful question: who is telling the story, and more importantly, whose voices are missing? In Beowulf, the narrative comes from the victors, so naturally, Beowulf is the hero and his enemies become monsters. But what happens if we shift our perspective? Instead of seeing her as monster, we can see her as a victim. Her son was killed and his arm was hung as trophy. So her revenge can be seen as justified. Also, she didn't start the conflict, humans did. So the idea of monster depends on perspective. In chapter 24, Beowulf decapitates Grendel's corpse after he is already dead. From a postmodern view, this isn't heroism, it's desecration. If the story were told from the bottom of the lake, Beowulf might look like the real invader who destroyed a grieving mother's home. So, through these lenses, we see a story not just of monster but of gender bias, class struggle, and the way we justify violence against the other. By challenging our lenses, the poem transforms from a simple myth into a complex mirror of human society.